Contractors, Appfolio, and representing them today is the almighty, all-wonderful AI guru, Kat Allday. Welcome, Kat.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I'm really excited to follow up with a conversation we've already had, and maybe I dive into a little bit more into what you've been up to at Appfolio. But first, if you could just maybe give a brief overview of who you are, maybe how long you've been at Appfolio,
Great.
and then what you're up to.
Yeah. So I have been leading our AI initiative at Appfolio for the last 3 or 4 years. I've been at Appfolio for 10 years, coming up December, which is wild.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of straddle product, strategy, and operations. And so my role at Appfolio has been to help us adopt AI and build these fabulous products that we could take to market for our customers. And that's sort of been my focus for the last couple of years.
Amazing. So how did you get into AI?
It was a total fluke. No.
Really?
So I had been working at Appfolio for quite some time, and our co-founder, one of our co-founders, said this AI wave is coming and we need to be on it. And he was looking for somebody to help him sort of take this idea and operationalize it and really get the organization behind it. And I was tapped, and I had to learn everything about AI. I was a fairly technical person, but this gave me an opportunity to really learn what was going on at the time. And back then, we were just really focused on traditional machine learning. And then obviously in the last 18 months, 24 months now, generative AI has really exploded. And so I get to continue to learn along with everybody else. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I know we could talk about your long career for at least 20 minutes. But I think what's really unique about how you've sort of gone with the evolution of this is you're almost one step ahead, I feel. So how do you stay one step ahead with AI when a lot of people don't even really understand it well?
Yeah. Well, I think for us we wanted to make sure we were actually building something that was solving real problems and not just doing R&D, right? There's a lot of organizations who invested in AI, and really they're just focusing on doing all the research. And we always said we want to build real products that people can use. And so that's always been our sort of North Star. And as a result of that, you have to think about, what are the tools, and are using the best tools, the best technology. And I think Appfolio has a history of doing this. We were one of the first property management softwares to go into the cloud. We were really ahead of the game with mobile and thinking about that end user experience on a mobile device. And so AI was a very natural sort of progression to sort of our ethos as an organization. So I think that's sort of helped us sort of be ahead.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I've pretty much worked in every software. Appfolio came into my purview about a year after COVID, a little before that, with Lisa AI.
Yeah.
And her being that, she was employee of the year at our company at the time. But that was the first exposure that I had had to something that really worked well with the CRM. And there seems to be a lot of challenges still, not with Lisa per se, but just in general with the tech stack. What do you think that's all about? Are we ever going to get it figured out?
Yeah. I think the challenge is we've all these distributed systems. And what you have to do is you have to figure out a way to have those systems talk to each other and share data. And, and that can be hard, especially when you have got a bunch of different vendors or suppliers. And so I think it's really important to, again, go back to the core problem you're trying to solve. How are we helping our customers, and how do we think about enabling that ecosystem, right? Whether it's through partnerships or really tight APIs, all those things really make a difference to create a solution that actually solves problems versus being all these bolted on technologies where you're actually fighting the technology more than it's helping you. And so I think that's an important thing to think about as you're looking at how do you deploy AI in your business. Yeah.
Sure, and it just kind of lends to this question of, will AI solve some of those problems in and of itself, just because it's looking for the solutions to solve those a little bit differently than the humans.
Yeah. I think AI is going to not only help solve problems, but do it in a way that is going to free up the humans to like actually focus on things that are maybe less routine or mundane. I think one of the important things as we're thinking about this is what's the most important thing a property management business, and it's about the asset, right, the property itself. And so what is the technology doing to help improve the performance of that property, right? And if you have a tech stack that's disjointed, it's really hard to do that. And so that's an important thing, I think, as you're looking at deploying AI solutions, is really identify what core problem you're trying to solve so that you find the right solution for that problem, right? It's really easy to look at the sexy thing and say, oh, I want that, but if it doesn't really solve the problem for you, you wasted time and money, right?
Got some road rash there, I will tell you. I've done that. And to your point, I think, being thoughtful about how you implement this technology, and I know it's a big conversation. There's a lot of people split right down the middle. But before we get into that, because that's going to be a hot question, tell me about Realm that you launched last year at NAA, and now you got something else that you launched today.
Yeah, so last year at NAA, we announced Realm, which was a sort of umbrella brand of all of our AI products. So that included Lisa and Smart Maintenance and Smart Bill Pay and a bunch of things that we had. And then this year, today, I think, the press release went out, we announced Realm X. And Realm X is our generative AI solutions. And we have 3 components to Realm X. The first one is Realm X Assistant, which is basically a co-pilot for you in the product that helps you
in the product.
It's an interface directly in the product.
So resident letters, all that, communication?
It's communication. It is, you can ask it questions about your data, and it can come back and pull data from a report. You don't have to go run the report. You can say, I want to know my rent roll for the Johnson building, and I only want to know about the top 3 floors. And it will just pull that data for you. And then it can do things like bulk communication. So let's say you know that you have the water's going to be out in a property. You can say, text every resident at this property that the water's out, and it'll resume service, at 4 o'clock. And it'll present you with all of those folks, the list of those folks, and it'll show you the text it's going to send, and then you just hit the button to send it. So that is a game changer, because think about sending a text message to 500 residents in a building. That takes a lot of time, and so this takes that legwork out for
my head
you.
is going, because literally one of the challenges we do have is having the same brand voice when we're sending out communications, depending on who the person is. They might put their own personal brand on the letter, in other words. So I imagine that will solve for that too. The other thing that you said that I thought was really interesting is that this AI goes out and does what you want it to do, gathers the information and brings it back. Are you seeing anything like with the financials that it will be able to do? For example, a big time suck is the financial reporting at the end of the month. It's all in the rearview mirror. No leading KPIs out there. So our property managers have to report on this, and it takes a really long time. You have to do the research. Are you seeing anything in that realm too?
Yeah, I think with all of these things, data is going to be a major component. And so how that data is gathered, how it's shaped and formed into reports or exports or whatever those might be, I think Realm X will be able to help you with that. And I think over time it'll even get better. One of the things that we also announced today is what we call flows, Realm X flows. And this is really codifying those business processes. So if you think about a workflow like a delinquency, how you manage your delinquencies, as much as you have a SOP that says this is how we handle delinquencies across all our properties, you still have humans that are having to go do those actions. And so with Realm X flows, you're going to be able to codify that workflow. And you can even then specify whether or not you want the AI to take action on some of those steps. You can say, I want my team to do these 5 steps, but once those 5 steps are done, the AI can do the remaining 3 steps because we've codified it in our system. I think that's really going to be where this technology is going to allow people to think very differently about how they run their business.
Well, you just said a really important word in my life, which is process.
Yeah.
And so workflows and thinking about that, and everyone has to customize them really to their own way of doing business.
Yeah,
and so we've just really been trying to get that right. And we have to rewrite the procedure every single time, or the process every single time. So I think that's going to be brilliant. But on that note, it seems to me like it could really play a big role in training. What are your thoughts on that, or what are you seeing there?
I would say all of our early beta customers, the people who we gave access to this product early on, many of them were very excited because to them it's like, I don't have to train my employee on how to use your software. What they can do now is they can just simply ask your software how to do it, and it can pull up a help article to walk them through it. They can ask them just for the data. Can you give me the data? And it'll bring the data up. They don't have to know which report to run or how to build the filters. I think that is really a game changer. So if turnover and staff onboarding is a major challenge for you, this is going to help you go from maybe what used to take 60 or 90 days to get somebody up to speed, and you could probably get them up to speed in half that time or even less.
I'm blown away. I think I have 2 questions left for you.
Okay.
One is, I think for a challenge as an operator to go out and try to decide what type of this technology would help you best. You might know your pain points, but how do you choose from all of the choices? What are some of your recommendations about how to get it right?
Yeah, so I think your vendor selection is a major issue, right? I think you need to think about what your tolerance is for technology. Find a partner.
I like that, tolerance for technology,
yeah.
right.
Find a partner who understands that and can meet you where you're at. The way we've thought about developing these tools is you can use some of them, you can use all of it, you can choose to not use any of it.
That's true.
But what we've seen is that 93% of our customers are touching one of our AI features every month.
That's
and
amazing.
most of them may not even realize that they're
doing it. Wow.
that it's powered by AI, but we're seeing just huge efficiency gains as a result of that. And we've made it really seamless to the end user where they don't necessarily know they're engaging with an AI. I think this Realm X is definitely, you're asking the computer to help you, right? So that is definitely a different sort of paradigm than what we've done historically, but it's really exciting. And we are seeing a lot of people are already comfortable with it because they've been playing with ChatGPT, or they're using other apps that have some of that functionality already. So it's very natural to them.
Amazing. So the controversial question of the hour, which is, there seems to be a line in the sand about the safety of AI and where that's going and how it's going to be controlled and how that might impact anything that we're implementing today. What is your recommendation there? I know you're pro AI, right?
Yeah.
But what's your take on that? Because it really does seem to be 50-50.
Yeah.
What's your take, and how do you suggest people be more open to trying it?
Yeah. So this is something I've been very passionate about, actually. One of the things that we did very early on is we defined how we were going to build this AI in a very responsible, thoughtful way. And not only is it the responsibility of the product dev team, but our whole organization has rallied around this idea. And so our legal team, our security team, they all partner with us to make sure that we're looking at how we're using the data, what we expose, what we don't expose, and setting up real guardrails. And guardrails are an interesting topic because if you think about, what does that mean? Everyone talks about, setting up guardrails. The great thing about being in a vertical industry like real estate and property management is that we kind of know how the business should operate, what the domains are. And so if you ask Realm X a question that doesn't have anything to do with real estate or the product, it will not answer you. So you can't ask it, tell me who you think is going to win the presidential election.
Right.
It won't respond. And so we think about protecting the end user by putting up some of these guardrails around topic and scope, but then also around anything where there might be hate speech or those concerns. And then from a data standpoint, we're very thoughtful about what data we expose to these open source LLMs. So we have enterprise agreements with all of the big players, Amazon and OpenAI, so that they don't use our data in their training models. And that's an important thing to do to protect our customers' data.
Wow.
So as you're looking at vendors or you're looking at what solutions you want to deploy, I think it's important to think about what is their stance on how they build AI responsibly, what are they doing with the data, who are their relationships with outside of their business, because you know, with these open source tools, you know, you are open to exposure potentially. And so I think having a very clear, like, this is our strategy for how we're going to protect our business and our data, I think is an important thing. And so, you know, I think there's a bunch of sessions here at NAA talking about like how to protect your your data from these AI tools, and I think everyone's thinking about it. I think it can be done responsibly, but you have to be deliberate. You can't just trust like everything's going to be perfect.
Right.
I think there's that extreme as well. You know, you
have to do your due diligence for sure. You have some knowledge about what you're doing because it's important.
Yeah,
we were talking about data and where it's going.
Well, and we think about the kinds of the data that our industry has access to.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's really important.
Wow. This has been amazing, as always. I think our 15 minutes has gone by super fast.
It's gone by very fast.
Right. But if people like me are really intrigued to talk to you about AI, how can they get a hold of you?
So I'm on LinkedIn, Cat Allday, really easy to find. And I do post occasionally. You can also just message me there. I'm happy to have conversations with folks. You can also email me at cat.allday@appfolio.com.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Kat, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.